everybody. I'm Tamiyka White. I am the founder of Black Girl Magic Creative Series, and this is our second episode of the podcast, In the Middle. And this is where we're going to be having a nice little living room chat, a little conversation, answering that very question. What are you in the middle of? Are you in the middle of your life? Are you in the middle of a crisis? Are you in the middle of a creativity? Are you in the middle of a relationship? Should you feel compelled to share? Because this is a safe space. And I'm just going to go ahead and just jump into it because I'm excited about this conversation with my girl,
All right.
Erin Wood. Welcome.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate
Yes.
it.
So I know you. People out there don't know you because, you know, we be keeping it low key,
Right.
Scorpio,
Scorpio
incognito,
private.
right? We're definitely about that life. But tell us about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Erin. As you know, I am a screenwriter who has dabbled in directing, as you know. But I'm always a writer 1st before anything. I mean, that's although I've dabbled in directing, I found it to be very stressful. You were in the first short film I ever directed, and I think when I met you, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, so. I think I apologize in advance because I really was horrified and scared.
I could tell.
And I had a professional actor in you that helped me, that made that job easier. But writer first, dabbled in directing. What else? I don't know. Born in Seattle, raised in Washington, but have spent pretty much all of my adult life in California, Oakland.
The town.
Met you in the town.
The town.
Yeah. Lived in the town for like 13, 14 years before coming to LA and just been, writing and just creating for my own peace of mind,
Yeah. And that's what we definitely want to talk about today, because I know that is always, like, even when I asked you, you're like, Tamiyka, I'm a writer. I'm not an actor. I know
yes,
all
not
too
an
well.
actor. I don't like being in front of the camera.
Right.
Even growing up, all my life, I've never really had a desire to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
I don't really like being in the spotlight.
Right.
I like to be behind the scenes, creating the stories, the characters, and then getting good actors such as yourself to bring into fruition the characters in my head.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit more because that's exactly what this whole episode is going to be about. We know that this is where we push what you do to the forefront, right? This is where you're going to come into like, people, okay, too bad, tag, you're it. You know what I mean? But you're a writer. And so, and you tell stories. Is there something, tell us what you're in the middle of on that from a writer's perspective in the creative season of it all, or are you in the middle of a creative season?
I finally am. I think as for any creator, whether you're a writer, an actor, a director, a painter, you have your own seasons. Sometimes it's flowing and sometimes it's dry.
Yeah.
And I used to flog myself for not being productive in those dry seasons. But what I've learned, and especially embraced in the last year or two, is, everyone has their own method. Everyone has their own journey. And sometimes you need to take the break. You need to step away from the thing that you've been creating and maybe live a little bit of life.
Yeah.
Or maybe, go in, and not to be hard on yourself, because usually when you come back out of that dry, time or whatever you want to call it, like the thing you were working on is it's better for it.
Yeah.
Because you haven't forced anything.
Right. Is that a rebuilding though? Is that a breaking it down, or is it like, how is it like, or is it something that's finally coming alive creatively, or a little bit of combination of all of that?
I think a combination of all of that.
Okay, talk about that.
Because even when I look at my last script, the independent feature that I recently finished, so that idea came to me.
Let me read it.
Not yet. It's coming.
What is this friendship coming to?
But the idea came to my head years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago. And so I started it, I put it on the shelf, and then, busy with other things, life, other projects, other things, because it's kind of a passion project.
Yeah.
And then when I took it back off the shelf and revisited it, I was like, okay, we need some revisions because I'm a different person. It's like a different version of me now than when I first started it.
Yeah.
Which I think has made it all the better because I'm able to bring different perspective to it. So it is like a revisitation, a return, but also a new beginning, a new version of that script. And so I was glad I had put it on the shelf for some time because it made it a better story.
And that's, I'm still going to stay a little bit longer on that because I like where you're going with this, because it sounded like you were beginning to hit on, like you said, even though it's, like most projects, we're writing what we're writing and however long that journey is taken, but then let's talk about how that's intersectionally living within life, like, because life be lifing, you know what I mean? It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but like you were saying, I is that something that you found yourself in the middle of?
Yeah, because life be lifing.
Yeah.
And I think even I've heard like singers like Jill Scott, like she says, she doesn't try to force herself to go in the studio, and sometimes she needs time. She needs to live and, and maybe tend to things that have been ignored or whatever to get you back in that space of whatever's going to like make your vibration a little higher, whatever you believe in, but to kind of get back to the right, perfect version of yourself that can make that creation, whether it be a song, a script, the best it could be, and I do think that requires just listening to yourself. It's different for everyone. Like, I'm a procrastinator sometimes, and I used to beat myself up all the time about that. But I tend to make good product in the final hour. Not everybody does well with that, but
And is that like within that again, opening the door? Come now. This we got to really get into this,
we're
right?
getting deeper than
We have to get deeper, right? I mean, let's just say this is a longer segment, but like I just can't get the talking points.
Where's the shots?
Where's the shot? Where the party?
drink?
Next time there's gonna be a party. She was like, "Why do you bring libations?" A sponsor,
Yes.
brought to you by.
Where the
next time, right? But okay, but process.
And everyone's process is different.
Yeah.
And I had to stop comparing my process. Toni Morrison talks about she gets up at 5 a.m. She used to write 5 a.m. every morning to
Right.
her kids. Well, I can't even form a sentence before 8:30 a.m. So props to her, and that worked for her.
Queen.
That
Definitely.
queen, yeah, we all worship
Right.
at the altar of Toni
Oh my
Morrison,
gosh.
but that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So
And is that something that, because I know I think that's all of us as human beings, as people, as women, as Black women. And I want to get into that. I want to talk about that because sometimes I'll be like, I'll find myself like, okay, you got a self-tape coming up.
I don't know how I can do that.
Girl,
I don't know.
I don't even know. Like, I'm not even sure myself.
Like, I can't even imagine happening. That can
why,
I like
why did you sign up for this?
when you tell me that your agent hit you up and it's like, I need a self tape by tomorrow, like the day before, I don't even
Commercials.
My
yes,
agent would
we'll
drop
talk
me.
about it.
My agent would drop me because I'd be like, I can't. The hair, you know what I mean?
Oh, I
It's
know.
not-
I know. But that's what one, I don't know, clearly not by any means. We're not medical professionals and don't know anything about neurodivergency since that name is thrown around. Like, yeah, I'm
really is thrown
neurodivergent.
around,
I
right?
don't know if I am. I don't know. But I can maybe undiagnosed ADHD over here because I'm just like, look, but then what I used to, and thank goodness for therapy, shout out to Dr. Liam Zidell, my therapist, love you. Anyway, that's not an endorsement, I just love him. I'm obsessed with him, but in a healthy way. But I am always looking at like, how I sit in it now, as opposed to where I now I look at, okay, you sitting in it, I'm getting into it. This is also part of the preparation,
Right.
as opposed to the process versus the resistance of it. Because I used to have a mindset attached to that in the actions and all of that, saying, well, let me go ahead and put this little self-tape on. And you're going to get back what you put in. You're going to get back, you know what I'm saying? That's your attitude? No wonder you're not booking anything. No wonder you're not working. Is that falling into that world for you as a writer? Process versus resistance in the in how Erin is approaching the work. Is it really procrastination now? Or is it like, you know what, because writers be taking their time with these stories.
Yeah. I mean, thinking of the word process.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I think everyone's process is different. And I used to hate that fucking saying, trust the process. I was like, if one more motherfucker tells me to trust the process, like I didn't want to hear that shit. That's so annoying.
Yeah.
But I will say there's some truth to it. As long as you not just trust the process, trust your process. Trust my process because everybody is different.
Yeah.
And I used to flog myself. I'd be like, damn, Erin, you didn't write pages today. And then I would flog myself. And then what does that do? That puts me in kind of like a lower negative energy.
Yeah.
And then
Go to the
then I'm
other
putting
world.
off, so yeah, I just think everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I think you have to, it took me a while to figure out how the best way I work. And I think that's what you got to do. Any artist, what's the best way you work? What do you need to be able to produce, that next greatest hit or that next painting or that next, what is your journey? What is the best process? What does going into the lab look like for you as a creative?
Plus,
It's going to be different for everybody.
it's going to be different forever because that whole you go, we're natives of somewhere else. We're transplants, but shout out to Houston, Texas. You know what it is.
H-Town.
Yeah, baby. But at the same time, truly loving this city, loving LA. LA is home. Love this city.
It took me a minute though.
It's a bit. Oh yeah.
Because coming from the town, coming from 13 years in a town.
Yeah,
you know how Oakland is.
You love Oakland. I was in Vallejo.
And I had a friend at the time, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're not even gonna be there a year. You're gonna get rid of that afro and straighten it. Please." I wasn't coming down here, and I'm still here.
Right.
But I didn't like LA at first because LA is very different from Oakland and East Bay. So it took me a minute.
So in the middle of the demographics of it.
Yeah, and also community. I mean,
Okay.
when I made that short film with you, that was probably back in 2008 or whatever. But my whole crew was queer women of color.
Right.
So stepping into the filmmaking community in the Bay Area where there's kind of already a built-in community, and I came in through the Queer Women of Color Media Arts Project. Shout out to Quackmap, because that's where I learned to write and produce and edit.
I can't believe that.
It's an amazing program.
Yeah.
But it was easier to find a creative community in the Bay to me. But then you come to LA, and LA is bigger. It's more spread out. It's not, you have to work a little harder to build your community as a creative. And that's why I liked our group, Black Girl Creative Magic Series, because it's community. It's sisters, safe space. And we all have, even though
We are the studio. We are great lighting these projects.
And
That's what this is all
and
about.
we're writers, actors, directors, so we all play different roles, and sometimes wear different hats, but we all are going in the same direction, and we're all supporting each other. We're all encouraging each other.
Yeah.
And in this town, you need that.
Yeah.
More so than anywhere else, I think.
So, Erin, then by way now, in the in-between, in the middle of that journey,
The middle.
People big sleep on the middle child here. So yeah, very
That
right.
explains it, no?
I know, right? It explains everything. But I think it lends itself to that, right? Like how the journey has been. So what, night and day. So even in looking back on it and being in those transitions, being in the middle of that, being in the thick of it, the Erin now looking back then, like how has the voice, the identity, Black queer woman, telling, wanting to see those voices and those stories and those in whatever space, like how is that looking in far as building the identity of you as a writer and seeing how I can get up in here, elbow my way in this big machine called Hollywood.
And it's different for everyone, like I said. But for me, the core of Erin, who did that film, the Saint, and it's interesting you say that because I've been thinking about that first short film I did with you, and
The Saint.
this is called The Saint, and the premise was basically, we see this trope throughout Hollywood, all through history, of this mammy type character, whether it's a domestic or whatever, and she's always the same type of character, right? Loyal to her family. That's not her family.
Yeah,
Loyal to
master to you, son.
loyal to her employer.
Yeah.
Support, just unconditional support, and just
Right.
like she never really was able to define herself. So that movie, I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm getting ready to give her some agency. Like, we getting ready to let her just do whatever the hell she wants to do. And then we see how that short film ended. Like,
Right.
she stepped out
Got
of
us
that.
some awards, got us some recognition.
She stepped out of that role, and she,
Yeah.
did some things. But she got agency. She, was herself. And so I bring that up to say is that recently I'm looking back at how I was when I did that film, how invested I was in the purpose. So I wanted it to be entertaining, but I had a mission, right? I was like,
That
we
was your
gonna
writing
we gonna
season.
take this character,
Yeah.
and we gonna push the envelope, and we're gonna show her in a light that she's never been seen,
Yeah.
right? So I find myself, because you come to LA and you gotta have thick skin, because you will get, there's rejections, there's
Another
you start to
episode.
question your talent, you go
Yeah.
through those little things.
Yes.
But if you're invested in the reason why I'm doing this, and I went back to that first short film, and so now I think I've been trying to lately tap into that more. I'm ready to push the envelope.
Yeah.
I'm ready to not only, and I'm thinking of this as I'm writing, like not only to write and entertain, but to make people think about some shit.
Yeah.
Maybe look back in history, and maybe a spotlight needs to be shown on this part of history that I don't feel has been adequately highlighted or illuminated.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that, and that's going to be the inspiration of my writing.
Yeah.
So we can entertain and also at the same time move people and make it useful and have purpose.
And that's what you're discovering.
Yeah, and I think the recent version of myself as a writer has been more like, even with my last script I just finished, like, yeah, this is entertaining, but I want to talk about some real stuff, because I've been thinking a lot lately about just authenticity and how how they say like that's the highest vibration is authenticity,
Yeah.
right? So I think as creators, we got to keep that in mind. And in these times, I'm calling all artists, writers, actors, painters.
Call
I think,
action.
I
Okay, I
think
love
during these times right now, it's like, get that courage up. If you can't get the courage up just from yourself, look at other people in the past, the Toni
See,
Morrisons.
this is just like a Scorpio move. You all psychic. 'Cause that was my next question. Like, what stories are important to you right now?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Like highlight. I had this film I wrote that got me into the Cosby Fellowship years ago, and the way I've always admired Assata Shakur,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because of the
sure.
courage,
Yes.
right? Like how many of
Rest
us
in
have
peace.
that type of courage
Yeah.
to basically blow up your whole life, right? Like sacrifice your life for something you believe in? Who
Yeah. Who's going to do that?
right? And then when you do that, and then when you look at what she lost, right? She, eventually had to go to Cuba and
Yeah.
couldn't see her daughter as much and her family and stuff. Luckily she didn't sit in jail like a lot of the other political prisoners. But I thought to myself, well, how is that? Like, is there regrets? Like, if you sacrifice that much of your life for something you believed in, right? First of all, that's admirable. I think most people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so it just made me think, like, how do you reconcile that with yourself? How, do you have regrets? Do you, like, what must that have been like? And so I based that whole script on just an activist who, kind of who has lost everything, has to start over. And was it worth it? And, you did it for the cause. Would you have done it differently? So I said all that to say, I think I get a lot of my inspiration just from, people in history or people I've met along the way that I'm like, damn, like that's amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's, this story should be illuminated, and I don't take their story exactly, but I'm inspired by, kind of what's behind it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, or what I think I'm hearing, and help me out, is there's a little bit of artivism here in a lot of ways, kind of combined, married into.
Yeah, I mean, I think artivism is important, especially now, and I think that's where I'm kind of even push myself further. Like, damn, okay, so I can write and make up characters and stories and make the story try and be inspirational or that it would resonate with people, but like, look at the times we're living in.
Yeah.
And I think back to the 60s, whether it's Amiri Baraka or, whatever what the artists were doing back then, they were telling the truth. Because, the real artists are the truth tellers.
Right.
And like, I think Erykah Badu even said, like, just no fear. Like, an artist just has to remove the fear.
What is freedom? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, push the envelope. Like, let's create some shit that makes people think and, like, that reflects our current shit show. Like, let's talk about it, because I think the artivism is important.
Yeah. Well, and I think
there's a responsibility.
We did that. We, for our short film, of course, we've yet to present it to the world. The first short film I directed, but you, and of course our other founding member, LeBret Baker. Hey, LeBret. What expected unexpected. You know, we is that coming into that? I mean, it's leaning towards that because
Exactly.
that was coming off of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And here we are, we got together having a conversation as women, Black women, you know what I mean? And how we all, within our group, which I love, how we all identify. Like, this is affecting this.
And
I
I thought
reproductive rights are gone. Like,
and that's why I think, in my own opinion, now everybody's not going to agree. But
Sure.
I just think it's so important right now in these times. I mean, I watched a show on Netflix the other day, Breakdown 1975.
Okay.
That's about television and film that was happening in 1975, which is, there was a lot going on. You know, there was the Vietnam War and all this stuff, but it was entertaining, but it also was not shying away from the underbelly, the dark side of things. You know, I mean, All in the Family, you know, the Jeffersons, all those shows that were very real, like
really holding up a mirror to.
Yeah, so I'm like, shit, we need to return to that.
I believe so, and I think that's what I'm hearing. And so, but I'm we're gonna come back to this. I am interested as you're sharing this with me though, because I know we, you know, in our friendship and our sisterhood, because we be talking, we be kicking.
Yes.
But I want to know, and for the sake of our conversation today, I'm really curious about like the origin story for like young Erin. Like, when did this? I know when it started for me. When I knew when I wanted it to. And what do I refer to myself as the third person? Tamiyka knew. You know, but I knew what I wanted. I could pinpoint. People always ask me. You know what I mean? How many times have I practiced for my actor studio interview here, or my Oprah Winfrey interview? Like, you know, when did you know? 7. You know, I have it on. I have that answer on lock. It's ready to go. Loaded. Right. When did you discover this about yourself? Like, when it, like, Erin, like, I like words. I like stories. My imagination is gonna do this. When did this? I want to.
You know, I was the only child till I was like 10, 11. So, you know, we had to entertain ourselves. You know, I mean, so I was always a creative child. I always was. You know how I used to get those little Fisher Price families?
Yes.
The little plastic families. And so I'd get the ones that were like camping or whatever. And I'd have whole scenarios. I wasn't so much into the Barbies, but the little Fisher Price people and then the stuffed animals, I was making up scenarios. Somebody was friends. Somebody got in a fight. Somebody was, you know.
Yes.
And then, of course, drawing, anything creative I was into as a child. Imagination on 1,000. So I think that's where it's just always been there. And it's always been something that has made me happy.
Okay.
And, I mean, I remember, and then there's moments along the way where you create something as a kid and then you get acknowledged and praised for it. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, do you remember in elementary school, did you ever have like a book writing competition?
Yes.
A story writing competition?
Yes.
So I entered that and I had this story. This was a long time ago, but it was about, I had a hamster at the time, Fred. So I wrote a story about Fred and a mouse getting together and they were detectives. You know, and they lived in like they slept in matchboxes and they, you know, lived in this little world, but they were detectives and they would solve crime.
Okay.
You know? And so the story won whatever, you know, I don't know whatever happened to the story, but, you know, I got praise and everything. They're like, wow, she's, you know, and so I think those little moments where you get those little bits of encouragement and belief from, you know, those around you as a kid, those moments are so important.
What grade was this?
This was probably like fourth grade, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I mean, I don't have kids, but the kids in my life and friends who have kids, like, I'm like, put that belief in. You see them do something that you think they got, like, just let them know. Because, you know, that in those moments, it's either the flame brightens or it can get snuffed out. Yeah. You know, so it's like you got to. So for me, that was when I knew that I always liked creating stuff.
Because I'm, you know, as you reflect in this, you know, of the moment of, what's your utopia? Like, your creative utopia. Like, what would you see? How could you see it building for yourself? Because I hear some challenge. I think you call some things out in this conversation. You have a call to action here. You didn't we ride at dawn. Like, let's go.
We ride at dawn.
Like, let's go.
This is what's going on in the world right now.
So
like, we gotta.
That's what's emerging for you. Like, talk about that a little. Like what. Like, you know how we sense things, like we can call like for happening without it being, you know, a little psychic.
I personally think
what's your psychic sense?
I think we're on a beginning of a wave of artivism.
Yeah.
I think that that's coming back. I think people are frustrated, they're scared. So if you're a creator, painter, drawer, screenwriter, whatever, like you have to, that's like therapy. Like your spirit needs that, right? To kind of get through these crazy, chaotic times. So not only is it, and it's not always easy. It's not always easy, you know, but I feel like there is for me personally, as a creative, I feel like there is some responsibility with the way the world is now, the way what our country is going through. So, and that's stressful at times, because then you get the writer's block sometimes. It's like, am I doing this justice? Am I getting the message out that I want to get out? You know, that can be stressful, because it's like that responsibility ain't no joke. But if you get out of your head and get back into your creative spirit and like tell your truth, tell the stories that aren't being told, like, let's not sugarcoat it. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. So I do hope that this kind of wave of artivism is going to continue to get bigger.
And that's what I'm hearing. I wanted to, you know, because we're not saying it's all gloom and doom,
Right?
You know, but in the hopefulness of as we shift out and
Hopeful.
Or are you?
Let me tap into my Sag rising,
tap in.
because the Scorpio is like, oh shit, but the Sag, okay. Well, I mean, there is hope, and I think
this has been great. By the way, I'm not. You have no idea how much joy I'm having just chatting with you and seeing.
It's easy with you.
I mean, yeah, right. You know,
because you know, we've had some conversations.
What's happening? I have questions. What's going on? What do I do? I got you, and I was prepared for it to come. So I'm just going to close it out with this. If I were to check back with you in, let's say, I don't know, 6 months.
6 months.
Say 6 months. Okay, all right. Let's give the maximum time. If I were to check back in that amount of time, but what you have hoped to have shifted, or what you might be excited about possibly sharing, that you were in the
shifted for me, or just
this was shifted for you as a writer, as a creative.
Well, in 6 months from now, I'd like to have like my crowd equity just off the charts and getting money coming in for my film. I would really like to shoot it myself. I mean, every writer really would like to direct their stuff, but you don't always get that opportunity. So.
Well, you claim it as such if you choose.
So yeah, I mean, a perfect 6 months from now would be the money coming in from crowd equity to get to shoot my independent film, and maybe by then there's some traction with the verticals. I don't know.
You're really looking at these.
I'm just in the lab. I'm in the lab, and I'm trying to, you know, just be ready and have purpose, and you know, take on the responsibility of maybe making people think about different things.
Right. So, but on that note, oh my gosh, thank you.
Thank you. This wasn't as bad as I thought.
Thank you so much. Yeah, trust, right? Goes a long way. I love it. But no, thank you so much for joining in for this second episode of our podcast, which drops on the last Sunday of the month on our YouTube channel. Please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are up and active. We are on all the socials, these socials, Instagram, and Facebook and TikTok. And you can always go to our website, www.demoreel.com/BGMCS. I'm Tamiyka White. This is Erin Wood. And thank you so much. And we'll see you next month.